Hi, everyone. So nice to see you. Welcome to Going to Samoa, getting excited and how to prepare. I'm first going to turn the microphone over to Moretta Reddy, who will give the opening and welcome on Associate Professor Viali's behalf. Moretta, if you'd take the microphone, please.
Haftai Professor Maguire. Apologies on that one. I'd just like to say a few words on behalf of our Dean for Samoa and Asia and Asia Pacific, Associate Professor Dr. Viali Lameku. We extend a warm talofa lava to all our students who are able to join us today for this very informative seminar. We hope that by the end of the seminar, you will be well prepared for the things you need to be aware of and the things that you need to bring with you when you come to Samoa for your elective rotations. Now, I just want to give a brief background on our main hospital, Te Puatam Sesemea Ole. So the hospital, it provides the people of Samoa with numerous health services and facilities. It's also the only hospital providing scope for studying medicine in Samoa. And it provides primary, secondary, and tertiary health facilities in addition to offering a range of specialist medical services, surgery, and outpatient clinics. So the new TTM hospital was completed on the 22nd of December 2014, and OUM relocated its office to the main emergency building in September of 2019. So there's a slide here I'd just like to share. Can everybody see the slide?
Yes, we can. Please go ahead.
Thank you. So this slide just it's just a list of the elective rotations that's available at TTM Hospital in Samoa. And this is basically just for the students' information for those intending to do a elective rotation in Samoa. So as we look forward to having some of you come to Samoa to complete your elective rotations. And we also hope that you will have the opportunity to explore the beauty of our island and enjoy our people and our culture. So thank you very much for this opportunity, Professor Maguire. I hand it back to you now.
Thanks, Moretta, and thank you, Associate Professor Viali. Malo, Afio Mai. Hi and welcome. Moretta's teaching me a few Samoan words. So it's really nice to see all of you. I'm really pleased that Moretta, Wheela, and Elizabeth could take time today to help us learn more about going to Samoa for elective rotation. This session is the brainchild of Ms. Mills, so thank you very much to the three of you for being here. I'm Associate Professor Maguire. I know all of you. Hopefully you know all of me. I'm Associate Dean for Student Welfare. And I'm here to support you from the start to the end of your journey as a student and into becoming an alumnus at OUM. So this is along those lines, and I'm really pleased that you're able to join us today. I'm going to facilitate this session by asking Moretta, Wheela, and Elizabeth a series of questions, and they also have some visuals to share with us all as well. If you have a question, please feel free to type it in the chat window, or you can also raise your hand if you'd like to take the mic. This will be a pretty happy and informal session, so if you've got questions or comments, feel free to go forward with that. So I'm going to start with Moretta. So Moretta, could you please introduce yourself and tell students about some of the supports that your office can provide?
Well, thank you again. Oh, actually, I'll say that in Samoan. Whaftai tele, Professor Maguire. And now I can officially introduce myself. And before I do so, I just want to let everybody know that I have our student Rochella here with me. She's joining us today. We're using one laptop.
Hi, Ella. Welcome.
Hi, it's good to hear everybody's voice.
So, talo falava, everybody, especially to our students. Thank you for joining us today. This is indeed a very informative but informal seminar. So, I am your student coordinator here in Samoa, and I will be your main person of contact before you arrive on island and when you do arrive on island. When you come into our office, I will be this loud lady who's going to greet you at the door and help you through all your documents while you're on island. And also I will be assisting you with any matters that you may have or that you may encounter during your rotations while you're here at TTM Hospital. So, Professor McGuire, if I could just have that first slide from Rumole. Oh, no. Yes, thank you very much. So that just lists the general support that we provide for students when you arrive to Samoa, especially with lodging your applications for your student permits at our immigration offices. I will check whether you have brought in all the required supporting documents that you will need to complete your application. I'll take you down to the immigration office to lodge your application. We do not encourage you lodging it online because the immigration services here, they do not have an online payment. So that's why they do not encourage students to do that. Once the paperwork is done with immigration, we come back here to the main hospital. I will take you down to your preceptor and the unit that you'll be doing your rotation and just basically do the, introductions and then hand you over to the preceptor. And I'll always be here to provide support with any matters or issues or concerns that you may have during your rotation. And also, I liaise with the preceptors if they as well have any questions or concerns regarding the duration or your performance while you're under their supervision. Now, some of the help that I can assist with is has to do with accommodations. You could basically, I think the information is on Moodle, but you can basically reach out to us if you have any questions about a certain place or any particular needs that you may require and you are having troubles getting in touch with the owners of the accommodation. So just reach out to us and we can sort of facilitate the communication from here and just update you on what we're able to come up with. And also tips on places to shop and dine and sightsee. I think the lovely Elizabeth will have more to say on that. She's been doing a lot of touring around the island, so good on you, girl. Second slide, please, Professor. So that this is just general information on culture. As you can see there, we are a community. And what we mean by that is that we help each other. That's how we operate in the family, and it's how we uh, generally are with everyone outside of our family. We try our best to be very helpful. We're known to be very friendly and hospitable, but I would advise that, um, while you're being friendly as well, it's always safe to keep a distance because it could be misinterpreted at some stage, and you don't want the friendliness to get to a point where it might feel uncomfortable for you. Um, Another point that's there is the clothing. Because our weather is, it's hot and humid all year round. I would definitely advise that you bring some light clothing, but modest, that you're decently covered. We do not advise you, the gentlemen walking around, shirtless in town or when you're visiting the villages, when you're going to the beach, as well as the ladies. It's always good to have a sarong or just a long dress to cover if you're wearing swimwear underneath that. Now, I want to touch on the villages having curfews. If you do find yourself traveling out in the villages that's outside urban Apia, Villages have curfews. Most of them have curfews. In the morning, it starts from 6 in the morning to 6:30, and this is for morning prayers. And then in the evening, it's from 6:30 to 7:30, and that allows time for the evening prayers as well as dinner time for the families. So when you find yourself in a village that's having a curfew, please do not walk around the village. Uh, if you're in a fale Samoa, which is a traditional house that's on the beach, sit there until the curfew is lifted. There will be untitled men lining the road or the streets, and they will be the ones who will enforce and ensure that the curfew times are observed and that no one is allowed to walk around. If by any chance you're driving through the village while they're having curfews, you are allowed to drive to continue on. But if you do want to pull over to a shop in a village that's currently having the curfews, you won't be allowed to leave again until the curfew times have been lifted. So you'll just have to sit in your car, make sure that your radio is not blasting out. It would be very polite if you can turn it off, because some cars here make a lot of noise with the AC on. And so yes, it would be very polite if you can just do that and wait out for the curfew times to be finished. Now, religion is a very, very important aspect of our daily lives. Sundays, you'll definitely find Sunday to be the most quiet, peaceful day of the week. No one will be walking around. You'll either be going to church or you'll be staying home. But in the evenings, then, well, you're allowed to, go for a drive in town and all that, but peace and quiet will still be observed. Yep. Next slide, please. Anything? Okay. I think I've touched base on the weather over there. So yeah, visitors, you can adopt a popular handmade fans from that. It's sold basically on the streets of Apia. You can get a good one for 10 tala, or it can go as high as 15 tala for a bigger one. And it's handy to carry around with you when it gets a bit hot. And again, light, modest clothing is preferred as long as you're decently covered. Now, this is the most interesting part that we've come to. It's got to do with directions. As you can see there, Samoa does not have street addresses. Then the streets have names, but that's as far as it goes. We only have one post office in Samoa, and that's where your mails will go. It's not like in your home countries where you have your mail boxes out the front. No, our mails here go through the main post office, and then you purchase a box there, you get a key, and that's where all your mails will come. So if you are asking a local for directions to, say, McDonald's, do not expect to say the locals to return to answer your questions by saying, well, McDonald's about 50 kilometers up ahead, turn left, and you'll find it. No, it's not going to be like that. They will give you directions by naming landmarks or buildings or places that's well known in Samoa, and that's close to the area where you want to go. Like for instance, if you were to get in a taxi and you say, I want to go to the market, most likely the taxi driver will ask you which one. We have two markets in Samoa, and so if you were to say the one where that has a bus stop, and immediately you don't know which one. And the other one, if you want to go to the other market, you'll just say the one that sells vegetables. And so that's how it's going to be if you're going to ask for directions here. Okay, next one, please. Okay, and this is the fun part. I've heard Professor Maguire saying a few words in Samoan, so that's basically very basic Samoan terms or words that would be really helpful for you if you try to learn. And the locals will be very impressed if you return if you return their greeting in Samoan. If you even manage one sentence, they'll be like really clapping their hands and so happy for you. Hopefully they won't lift you up and throw you back on the ground. That's how happy they can be. But yeah. All right, I think that's it for me. I'm open to any questions at the end of the session. Thank you, Professor McGuire.
Thanks, Moretta. I'm very Fia. for you to take your time to speak with us about that. I think it's really, it's hard sometimes to try to speak other languages or words when you're unsure. So it's nice to hear that they would really welcome us
Well,
trying to.
you're doing it really well. You said fear perfectly.
Oh, thanks. If students do have any questions after the session, how can they get in touch with you?
Oh, sorry, Professor. I didn't get that. I'm very sorry. Could you repeat
that's
your
okay.
question?
Sure. So if students do have questions after this session, how can they get in touch with you?
Yes, please. Email would be very much preferred.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Loretta. I'm going to stop the slide share, and I'm going to call on Wheela now. She would be so kind. Let me see if I can stop the share. There we go. As to introduce herself. Wheela, could you introduce yourself, please?
Hello. Talofalava, Prof. McQuire, and everyone. Good to see and know that you are all well. My name is Wheela Laifalima, and I am Samoa's liaisons officer and one of the ambassadors for Samoa. And I just arrived yesterday from Brisbane and finally completed OSCE on the 12th of November. And yes, I completed all my clinical rotations, all the course and the electives that all the requirements from OUM. They were all done here in Samoa at the Tupua Tamasese Mea Ole Hospital. So, yes.
Congratulations, Wheela, on finishing.
Hello, Wheela.
What advice would you give to students so that they can have a positive experience on their rotations in Samoa?
Thank you very much. So my advice will focus on the experience in the hospital. I think that Elizabeth and Rochella are now experiencing working in the Samoan hospital. There are some registrars that love to teach and some do not because of the shortage and the ratio of the doctors and the registrars to the patients here in Samoa. And you will see that there are more medical students and interns than registrars in the ward. And that will give you the opportunity to do a lot of clinical skills and get to learn more from here in the hospital. And patients in Samoa are very respectful people. And even though that you're medical students, they look up to you as, and they are very respectful. And for my experience, I have never come across a patient that refuses to have me do in IV intravenous insertion, thoracentesis, do procedures like removal of foreign bodies from the nose, the ears, like in the ENT department. So we do more here, and especially if you tell other medical students and interns or registrars that you want to do this procedure next, like thoracentesis or indwelling catheter as an example, or assisting in operating theater for a C-section, they will tell you, oh, there's a thoracentesis you want to do, or you want to assist, or you want to observe. So everyone works together here. And I think the bottom line and everything, good communication and respect for one another is the most vital thing to do in the hospital. And we get to talk, you get to ask questions, and we get to know your colleagues, the patients that we take care of, and their families, and other health personnel in the hospital. and we don't have to assume that about this and that. You are welcome to just ask questions, and people there in the hospital are very friendly. They will assist you, and they will give you the answer of whatever thing that you are in doubts with. Yes, I think that would be a very positive experience, because for us medical students, I know that there are limitations in your countries, but here in Samoa, you get to do more. And if you get this opportunity, just grab it um, and do it. Yes, I think that's all from me. Thank you very much, Prof. McGuire.
Thanks. I have one more question. Is that okay?
Yes, sure.
Okay, so what are some of the things that students can do to be gracious visitors and clinical students while they're in Samoa?
Thank you. So just know and understand that this is Samoa. This is not United States or Australia. And those countries and your respective countries, you will get all things that you need or want in a very timely manner, or more so in a professional manner, or a very high standard, I would say. And if you are here and you are very happy to learn a new culture, and that will be a bonus for you as well. And if you get here, you will get to know and understand where other people come from and what their culture and life is like every day. And this will be a lifetime experience for you, and think that, oh, I'm going to Samoa to learn the culture and the rotation that you have selected. And you will enjoy being a medical student here in Samoa in any other way. And as I said before, that people are very friendly and respectful, and know that I'm here as well. I will be here next year as well for anyone visiting. I'm sorry I didn't get to meet beautiful Elizabeth. And people are very friendly and respectful. And know that Marita is here as well for you. And know that our Dean and Prof. Dean Prof. Viali is here for you if you have any concerns. If we can solve it as early as possible, if you have any other problems. And yeah, that will be a very positive experience for all our future medical students that will be visiting here in Samoa. And do it early to make sure that the rest of your rotation will be great, and that your time here will be a lifetime experience. And expect that your experience here will be different from all your other rotations that were or will be done in your respective countries. And ask and get in contact with Marita or me or Dr. or Professor Viali if you ever have any question. Yes, I think that's all from me. Thank you very much.
Thanks for being so gracious yourself with your time and advice. Elizabeth, could I please ask you to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your recent rotation in Samoa?
Yes, hey, everyone. My name is Elizabeth, and I am just completed my last medical school rotation in Samoa. It was great, and I here in the U.S. I'm in Texas, and that's where I've done most of my rotations. And before, I've lived kind of all over the U.S. So I actually had reached out to Dr. McGuire, and I said, "Hey, Dr. McGuire, I'm in Samoa. I think other people would really benefit from knowing more about how to get here." And again, based on maybe your travel experience, some people I know that are going have never traveled outside the country or travel very little in country even. And whether you're in Australia, New Zealand, in the US, hopefully I'm going to give you some information today, and as well as the other ladies giving you some information that can be really helpful, because some of it's just from my experience of travel, and some of it's from my experience of getting ready to come to Samoa, and from my experience while I was in country.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Please take it away.
All right. So see if I can get my slides to move like I want. Nope. Okay, so here's actually a picture of the hospital from the back, and because I actually was in an apartment that had this view, which is pretty cool. And again, depending on what rotation you're doing will depend on which building that you go into, but the awesome people at the school, like Maretta or Dr. Lemeka, will show you where to go. But this is essentially the view of the hospital from the backside. So the few things I want to go over today, we're going to talk about applying, travel, visa, accommodations, rotation itself, things to bring, maybe things to consider bringing, other recommendations, how to connect, and some things that you might want to consider seeing while you're in the country. So when you go and apply to your rotations, from what I'm pretty sure for New Zealand, Australia, and the US, and I guess the other places, what we do normally is we go on to Moodle and we go and put our request in. But for this rotation, you need to ask your country dean what rotations are offered at that time, like present. Now, obviously, Maretta compiled the list for you initially, so that's really great. After that, when you figure out what rotation you want to do, you need to let your dean know, hey, by email, this is what I did by email. Hey, I want to do this rotation these dates. Then that dean will discuss it with Dr. or Associate Professor Lemeka, and then he'll let you know, he'll communicate with the dean and say, hey, yes, that's available for those dates. And then after that, if you get approved, you can then proceed to put your rotation request into SIS, just like you would on Moodle, just like you normally would do a regular request, okay? Regarding travel, just if you aren't you already aware that Samoa is about 24 hours ahead of most time zones in the US. Now, if you're in Australia, then good for you. You're only 2 or 3 hours difference. And actually New Zealanders are the same as Samoans, which is very convenient. If you're traveling from the US, again, I'm putting some of this because I wrote it all for like US thing. And they're like, can you put some stuff for the other students? So if you're traveling from the US, I would strongly recommend arriving in Samoa minimally 2 to 3 days prior to the start of your rotation, just because life happens, things happen. Rochella, who's on, like it took her like a couple of days to get here from one reason or another, flights mess up, different things like that. And then also I arrived the day before and I was like, life happened the day when I arrived and there was just so much stuff going on. So don't stress yourself out too much and try to get here a few days, 2 or 3 days before, just to get yourself settled. Australian New Zealanders, maybe because you are a little bit closer, 1 or 2 days might not be a big deal because y'all don't have the time zones and as many flights typically as most US students. If you are traveling from the US, you're going to be traveling for over 24 hours. So I think my first time it was like 35. My next one was like 40 because there were 40 something. So just because there was delays and things coming back. Now, if you live on the West Coast, it would probably be much shorter, but I had a couple flights to get to the West Coast. For that, because things happen, I would definitely pack a little knapsack of some toiletries and clothing that is in your carry-on luggage, just in case things happen and flights get delayed or weather happens. And because you can't access your luggage, if you didn't know that already, I had that happen where I literally was in Dallas and I would just had whatever was in my bag, which thankfully I had deodorant and I had toothbrush and toothpaste. So just have a couple of those things on hand. And again, a change of clothes would be really recommended. I've done a lot of international flights and a lot of times you can have really long layovers. Like I was in Fiji for about 6 hours flying to Samoa and then coming back for about 4.5. So they have some really nice lounges if you want to like shower and eat. Again, that you don't have to do that. That can be something that could be an option depending on how plush, you are. And if you like endless amounts of free food and showers. Regarding when you get to Samoa, I didn't realize it, but it's about an hour from the actual airport to Apia. So that's something to be aware of. So you'll need to arrange a ride or get a taxi if you're not renting a car. And obviously, if you're driving, then you need to have directions already accessible on your.
Elizabeth, we just lost the sound. Can you just do a check?
She's coming back.
Let me just check in with Elizabeth, everybody. Just give me one moment.
Okay, so it was on here. So.
So just know that if you're getting a taxi, what it should cost is about 60 to 70 tala. But anything in a Samoa, whether it's a banana or, you know, a dress or anything that you buy that doesn't already have a price tag on it, it's going to likely, you're going to get an upcharge for being a foreigner, or a balangi is what they call it. So just know that, and hopefully maybe by the time maybe Marita can get some basic fees for some simple things, maybe that's something that they could put together. I know Rochella said that that was helpful for her. But for but what you should expect to pay for the taxi is 60 to 70. But if you can prearrange it, then you'll know the price. And I've tried to help with that. I have a friend's number here. If you want to try to arrange transport, my friend's husband James drives a taxi. If he's available, he can try to pick you up from the airport. He can refer you to another reliable taxi service that's going to charge you 60 to 70 tala. Otherwise, when you go up there, it'll just be whatever they say. Like Marita already had mentioned, there are no addresses in Samoa, so directions are usually described based on what's near the destination. But I got around really well and reliably with Google Maps because I had a car myself. The conversion for US dollars to tala based on, again, rates change, around 2.7 to 3 tala per $1 And for what I looked up on for Australian and New Zealand dollars, one of each of their dollars is roughly about 1.8 to 2 tala. You can go to the next slide. So this was discovered by our dear Rochella. Fiji Airways is extremely rigid regarding their COVID vaccinations. Now, again, it can be hit or miss with who actually checks your stuff, but if you're not fully vaccinated, then they may not be able to board your flight. If you have chosen not to get your COVID vaccines for whatever reason, you just need to make sure you get a letter of exemption from the Fiji Border Health Protection Unit. And if you go on the airline, it'll show you how to go about getting that form. So, but make sure you have yourself plenty of time to do that. Now, if you don't want to worry about any of those things and you have another option of using Air New Zealand, I believe what I looked online was that there weren't any significant restrictions regarding your COVID vaccine. But nonetheless, any country that you're stopping in, you need to review what the COVID restrictions are, even if you're going to be just in the airport. So, because like Samoa's restrictions weren't a big deal, but Fiji's restrictions were a big deal. So just pay attention to all those things. Each of us are coming from different countries. So just pay attention to those things. And also each airline requirements. And again, those change all the time. That's like fluidity around, as we all know. Thank you. So regarding your visa, as Ms. Marita has already said, the amazing OUM staff will give you a list of visa requirements, and I actually have that on the next page, so you can, or one of the next pages, so that you can know what you need. And of course, this is something just to review quickly. It's nothing you need to do today or tomorrow unless you're leaving soon. And please make sure you have all the items with you. Like when you walk in your first day to rotations, have everything with you, printed and in hand, so that there's no delays in processing your visa. On the first day of your rotation, you're going to need to have Samoan Tala to pay for the visa and Tala to pay for your tuition. So you have to have both because you're going to pay for both that same day. So, and you need to have it in Tala, not in any cash or Visa or debit or whatever. They don't have any of those things, just they want the money. And please let them know if you have any questions like I had. What about this? What about that? They'll answer the questions for you and try to get back to you in a timely manner. Next slide. So again, this is just a list. I don't want to review with you because all of you are beautiful and can read. And but it gives you an overview that you can go back to and you review this of all the things that you're going to need. And if you've ever applied for a visa, then you probably have obtained some of these things before. But I have some of the things that you might not know where to get it from. I listed them on the next slide. So for example, like passport pictures, if I know here in the US, like we have Walgreens photo, like CVS, so there's a lot of like little pharmacies and places that you can just go, they'll snap your photo, they'll get it like passport requirements, and they'll meet all the qualifications that you need for that. For travel health insurance, I used Atlas travel medical insurance. I didn't have to use it, so I don't know if it's good or bad. I just needed something that was not too expensive. So again, there's a bunch of other companies that also provide that service. Now, if you need a background check, you can get it from your local police department, but it's only required for students that are going to be in Samoa for over 6 months, which I mean, probably will be very few students. So accommodations, as Ms. Moretta mentioned, please correspond with the OUM staff regarding their recommendations on housing and car rentals. I had already gotten all that stuff organized. And I was like, I got it together. But I found out that some of that came back and bit me in the bottom because like I rented a car from Budget, but Budget car rental doesn't actually exist in Samoa. And then there was just a local guy that's like, oh, we got a car. But that car was totally a lemon. I mean, it was so awful. Even on Samoan standards, all my Samoan friends were like abhorred and terrified that it would just break down. So obviously, if you have, you have contacts there, use a reliable source, or even if you do plan, through an alternative route, just discuss that with them. Just say, hey, I got my car rental from this. Is that a good company? And I would just collaborate with them to make sure that you're getting something affordable and that accommodates your specific needs. And again, I'm referencing Rochelle because like Rochelle wanted different things than I wanted. I wanted something that had like a washer and dryer in it. I wanted something with a kitchen. I wanted something that I was by myself. So they can make sure that you're getting a good deal of whatever you're finding online that may meet that, or they can also try to help you with alternatives that say, hey, these are my specifications of the things that I want. And they're trying to compile those lists to help it make it easier for students. Wi-Fi is not an expectation at most accommodations, and you may have to pay for the data that you use. So just be aware, like most, I've rented or used Airbnbs all over the world. And when you say Wi-Fi, that typically means Wi-Fi, but that may not necessarily mean Wi-Fi in Samoa. Next slide. Regarding the conference, again, just continuing, what is advertised may not be available at the home rental apartment. For example, like washing machine available, maybe like, oh, well, down the street, just right down the street, we have this little washateria, So just maybe want to clarify on some of those nuances. I think Rochelle ran into that. They're like, oh yeah, we have, yes, down the street. That's where you can wash it. It's available. And also they don't have dryers here. So you're going to be air drying your clothes. Most of the places that I've seen provide some sort of way to hang your clothes up, but that's just something to think of that may not be, depending on where you live and where you're from, that may be something that's very foreign. Again, almost every person in the United States probably has a dryer, but, or at least for the most part, breakfast included. Like a lot of people have Airbnbs, or maybe that might be something that's noted on an online thing. But for me, breakfast means like I want eggs and I want some bacon or whatever. But but they may mean just like toast, a fruit, tea, and instant coffee. So again, if your breakfast is a really important meal, I would really specify and clarify what breakfast means to you, or what it means to them, because again, breakfast in different countries looks different. And these are just some of the houses that I picked. I took pictures of on the side of the road. And you see it, man, it's just such a beautiful, colorful place. And I just want you to kind of get an idea of some of what you might see. And this is not in town, this is outside of town, but they're still really cool houses. Also, some of the houses and stores and the hospital may not be maintained in the way you're used to. Again, I've been all over the world, in Mexico and rural places and Africa. And again, the expectation is just different places. So don't expect that it's going to be like a big US hospital that they, put billions and billions of dollars into, and they're making millions of dollars every year. So it's going to be different. And again, for the houses and stores and all that stuff. So just kind of preparing your mind, don't expect it to be like the US, because it's not. It's Samoa, it's another country. And expect a lot of animal noises. So I had this bird that sounded like it was pecking out the windows, and there's roosters and dogs and all that stuff, which can be a joyous din depending on your perspective, or some people it might drive them crazy. So you might want to consider bringing earplugs if those kind of ambient noises while you're trying to sleep or in general bother you. Next slide. So regarding commuting, getting around, Samoa is beautiful and has mountains everywhere. You're going to see it and you're just gonna be like, oh, it's gorgeous. So that means a car is a little bit easier to get around than just walking. Or if you wanted to bring a bicycle, actually I wanted to bring my bicycle, and the lady that for my apartment is like, well, you're going to have to go up a mountain. I was like, that's a good point. I'm not going to bring my bicycle. So if you are, depending on if you're going to be walking or biking or using a car, just know that there's not lots and lots of sidewalks everywhere. This is not a big metropolitan city. It's more like a town. So there are sidewalks downtown and on the few of the major streets, but a lot of people do walk, but they walk on the side of the shoulder of the road, which often is not paved. But if you do want to explore, consider renting a car for a couple of days or renting a car during your stay. For me, it was very, very convenient. They drive on the left side of the road, whether I didn't know in Australia, New Zealand, I know that they do that. I've been there and it's awesome, but maybe y'all didn't know that also in Samoa, you're going to be on your right side of the road. But coming from America, I didn't know that. And I was like, oh, okay, wait, gotta recalibrate. It's funny though. I've been back a few days and I still kind of try to drive on the left side of the road until I remember that I'm not in Samoa anymore. So thank God to the people that haven't been hurt. So, but even if you don't have a car and you don't want to worry or hassle with that, that's fine. They do have taxis everywhere, and that's an easy option. Lots of taxi stands near the hospital. Taxis are always coming through. So, but an important notation with taxis is that, you want to discuss the cost of the trip before you actually get in the car. Because like I said, it doesn't have a price tag on it. They don't have meters on it. So, hope you can ask Marita, hey, how much is it to get a taxi here or there, or whatever, or some of the other Samoan people that you might come in contact with. That way you're not being just grossly overcharged just because you are not from there. You're Palangi. Next slide. So regarding rotations themselves, on your first day, you're going to go to the school, and the great OUM staff, I keep them announcing, just really speaking well of them because it's so true. They're going to take you first to submit your visa application. So fear not. If you don't know where you're going and what you're doing, all you have to do is just get to the school, and they're going to take you and take care of your visa and get you situated. Thereafter, they're going to take you to your rotation site to meet your preceptor. They're going to make sure that you know where to go and who you're going to talk to and who you're going to meet with. So it's okay if you don't know the preceptor and you don't know what place or facility or which part of the hospital it's in, because the staff are going to take you there. So fear not, just try to relax until you get there, and the staff will take you there. Scrubs and white coat are the rotation dress code unless otherwise noted. Now I know that, again, you might have noticed that on your rotations, wherever you're at, that sometimes they want you to just wear scrubs, and they're real strict about white coats. like I was in radiology and the doctors all wore their white coats, but I think, on the wards, they may not. So, and I've seen students from the other school always wear their white coats. So it's just relative, just bring everything just in case. But again, scrubs are going to be the mainstay of what you're going to be wearing in the hospital. In Samoa, everyone wears sandals, flip-flops everywhere, or they even go barefoot. So I was like, if I would have known this ahead of time, I would have not been bringing all these clunky shoes that I could wear in the hospital. I just brought sandals. So, which is really great and great for your feet, unless I guess you're in surgery or in the OR, although they do wear them there too. So just consider you're welcome to wear shoes, closed-toe shoes, but you don't have to. You can just wear sandals or flip-flops with your scrubs. Also, a lot of, like Willa was saying, these are rotations where you can be really engaged and active. You might have had a lot of observation type rotations. I have had plenty of those too, but a lot of the rotations are going to expect you to jump right in there and be making things happen and seeing patients and doing stuff. So don't just be expecting to sit back and hang out. Thankfully, I was in radiology, so I did just get to hang out and look at x-rays and images and CTs. But for the most of the things on the ward and clinics, you're going to need to expect to be a part of the process, not just be present. Also, Rochella had found out the hard way that on hospital wards, you need to have your wear your hair up in a bun or a way. So although like in the United States and maybe in Australia, New Zealand, I'm unsure, wearing your hair down is more professional, where fixing your hair is considered professional here, but in that setting, she was notified to have her hair up if she's going to be on the ward. Thank you. So to give you an idea, because on my first, I got an email and I was coming in and I was like, so Maretta, where do I go? She's like, well, just come to the school. I was like, well, where is the school? So to, again, give you another picture, it's the third building here on your right, and looking at the hospital will be on your left, and it says the emergency room, and it's the third floor of that building. So you'll go up the stairs to the third floor, and there's a big sign that says Oceana University of Medicine. So you can go in there, and there's just a few places you can go on that little hallway, and so it's pretty easy to find once you find the door. Think you. Maretta goes ahead and she does print you a log, the log book, the whole progress notes and everything that you're going to need. But I handwrite all my case logs, my daily case logs. So print out however many you think you're going to need. I printed out just a bunch because there's not just tons of printers and places to print things off when you're in Samoa. So this is something to go ahead and have prepared. Also procedure logs. I mean, like we said, you're going to be doing more procedures there potentially. So you want to make sure you have enough papers, copies of these things to have and be able to fill out while you're on rotation, since you will not have your ability to probably print them out there. I'm sure Marita would try to help you, but that is not always a guarantee. So it's better to come prepared. So things to bring an umbrella because it rains. It's very tropical, so it rains a good bit. And also, just if you're walking around, it is hot and you want some shade, that just pop that umbrella out and it'll protect you. So it's good for both. And you'll see that being utilized in both ways, even from the Samoan people. For those people that are not New Zealanders or from Australia, you're going to need to bring an international charger more than likely. New Zealand, Australians, you can just hook right up like normal. It's the same outlets. Any specialty foods, spices, snacks that you like, bring them. Now, again, Samoa is I only have tons of things to offer, but I mean, for me, I like a specific type of sweetener, and I knew that they wouldn't have it. I mean, I was like, if they did, my mind would be blown. And like, I brought a lot of snacks that I personally like that I didn't think that they would offer, but they do have like snacks and chips. And again, they have grocery stores with lots of different stuff in them. But if you have very specific tastes, you want very specific spices and things like that, it'd be just in your best interest to bring all that yourself. I would definitely bring sunscreen. Unless you have a complexion that doesn't need that, then good for you. But otherwise, put on sunscreen every day because it is sunny, 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 which is awesome. I even for my very pale normal self, I changed several different shades while I was there. And thankfully, most of it wasn't red because I used sunscreen. And then I go with the flow attitude. If y'all have ever been and known people from an island time can sometimes just be different. And if you just have the attitude, just go with the flow, whatever happens and however happens, it's going to be all right. And again, you have the staff that'll support you and help you along the way. Next slide. Thank you. So other things you might want to consider bringing, like a battery charger pack. It's not as easy to find like outlets and things like that. And so if you don't want your phone to die, especially if you're traveling and things, I would definitely maybe consider bringing that. If you're going to be like in a communal area, maybe you want to bring one of a way to lock up some of your visas, or your passport, or different things that you might want to secure. I didn't do that because I was in an apartment by myself, but again, it just depends on your own experience. And that definitely might be, I would definitely, if I was in a communal area, I'd probably be more likely to bring something that I could lock away. So just safety awareness. Again, Samoa is very safe. And even that's for one of the first things Dr. Lemego told me, it's very safe. He's like, just be smart. You know what I mean? You are in another country. So just, and if you feel like you need to bring something, you know, like if you need to bring something extra to protect yourself, that's fine. Obviously you can't bring like weapons, but I would say like, you know, just something to consider, but I never was worried and I was around town and doing things and all that, but I was out during the day and I was, you know, being aware, and I had a vehicle. I wasn't just walking where I was going. So just something to consider if you're walking around in places, just being aware of your safety, because you are going to be highlighted because you're a foreigner, you're going to stand out, and that potentially could lead to something. And just that's why you always want to protect yourself, no matter where you're at. Okay. But again, Samoa felt very safe overall, because they have very, very few street lights. You might want to consider bringing a flashlight, especially like if you're walking around. I didn't bring a flashlight because I was walking around, but I have a flashlight on my phone, and I would use it. Like there was one where I parked my car. It was like really, really dark, and sometimes I couldn't see where I was going. So it did come in handy. So, but if you feel like you're going to have to use something all the time, maybe you want to consider bringing a flashlight. These are tea people for the most part. So I really regretted that I did not bring my pour over coffee thing or my French press. So they have amazing coffee. I bought some coffee and it was delicious and I really enjoyed it. And I found a way to make it happen. And they have instant coffee too that you can buy. But if you're do or die without coffee, then you definitely should probably bring something to facilitate that, because they mostly just have tea kettles. And of course, if you love tea, then you're already set to go. So basic toiletries and towels may not be provided at your accommodation. So just be aware. Thankfully, I had towels where I stayed, but I brought a towel just in case. I didn't want to be showing up there and not having what I needed. And then, you know, like sometimes I booked an Airbnb and they'll have like shampoo and conditioner and all that stuff. They did not have that at I didn't expect them to, but I had all those things. So just be aware that whatever you think you're going to need, just go ahead and bring it. But they do have, I forgot my hairspray. They have hairspray and shampoo and all those things in the store. So it's definitely something that you can buy unless you have a particular brand. They may have a limitation on how many brands are offered for those items. Thank you. Okay, things to know. And some of this Miss Maretta already highlighted. Samoans are very modest regarding clothing. I'm going to an island and bring my shorts, bring my tank tops. I got these little cute sundresses. I did not wear any of that. And I'm not necessarily trying to be immodest, but I think it's a relative modest thing here in the States. And so I went and got some dresses that I felt more comfortable in. And again, we want to be respectful, and you want to be respectful and socially aware of what your, attention that you draw to yourself, but also this is a way for me to respect the people that I'm around. So I would leave your crop tops, leave your short shorts at home. I did wear some shorts, but they were longer, and try to bring dresses that are below your knees. Most of the women wear dresses most of the time, or they wear pants. And also they most of the time do not wear tank tops or anything like that. They typically will have their arms or at least their neck and things like that covered. So just a different thing to be aware of. And on Sunday, like she mentioned, many things are closed or have limited hours of operation. So I wanted to go and do something on Sunday and I didn't have gas. And there was I think there's one gas station that's open. So just be aware of that if you're planning to try to do something on Sunday. And also Samoans speak English. A lot of them do, but of course they love hearing people speak Samoan. So I'm glad Miss Marissa provided those slides with information for you on some of the basic Samoan terms and words to know. And the people here are really friendly and really helpful. They're really, really sweet people. And I mean, from strangers to people that I met, I mean, everyone here overall is very lovely and so kind and nice, and especially the OUM staff and students. They're really great. Thank you. Next slide. Okay. So things to know. So expect a lot of free range animals everywhere. Pia, like I said, is more like a town and versus a major metropolitan city. And I used to live out in the country. Dogs are everywhere. That's not uncommon, but they have animals and chickens. And again, I kind of alluded to that a little bit ago with noises. And like I had said before, Samoa is generally considered to be a safe place. I drove all around the island that Apia is on, and I mean, I felt, I felt comfortable, but I was like by myself, and I'm a female, so I need to be like smart. I don't need to be like, I don't want to be out late at night and by myself. Not because I feel like someone's going to jump me, but just I didn't feel that was personally safe for myself. But any foreigner in any country that is not their own is going to be targeted. So just be aware of your surroundings, be a smart traveler, be aware that you're not from there and you may not know areas that are safe or not safe. Remember when I moved to Atlanta many years ago, I was like, I don't know where to go. Like I'd heard Atlanta is so dangerous. And I was like, I have no barometer on what's safe and what's not. So it's the same thing, like going to a new place, even if it's in your country, can be, daunting because you don't know what's safe and what's not. So just be smart. And the pace of life is probably maybe not what you're used to. Most people are more relaxed and it's more, okay, we'll work it out. And, it's not as, aggressive gung ho, but that may, again, depending on your rotation, that might be different. My rotation was more like that, a little bit more laid back. Of course, there was plenty of expectations and things I needed to do. And I still needed to be on time and all those things, but overall the culture is just generally a little bit more laid back and relaxed, which is nice and refreshing coming from the States. And like Marissa mentioned, Samoans are friendly and may consider it rude if you are not friendly. Not to say that you don't want to be overly friendly with like people that, are not, are just like randomly on the streets, but like, you'll see people like wave on the highway and people say hello as you're coming up and walking out. And maybe that's not what you're used to. I was originally born and raised in the South. That is very normal from that perspective, but we lived in big cities and that is not normal. So just to be aware and maybe adjust a little bit when you're there and try to be a little bit more engaging and friendly because that is definitely how they are. Next slide. Thank you. So some other things to know is I put this first picture here because maybe depending on where you've traveled to or not, you may not have seen this outlet. I'm pretty sure most Australians and New Zealanders and a lot of other countries have this type of outlet. But you see there's like these little switches to the left of the actual socket. And you have to turn it on. So that has like the little orange light that way, it's on, and the other one below it is off. So just in case, that might seem silly for some of you that use these every day, but if you're not accustomed to seeing that and you're like, why isn't this working? You got to like turn the actual outlet on, which I think is great. I wish that we had that in America because it saves on energy, but we're not arrived yet to that point. Next things to know, really important, is that for your safety, don't just drink water from the tap. Please boil or buy bottled water. I didn't have any issues with this. I boiled water. I used it. I almost used only boiled water. And I did initially buy a big thing of water, but after that, I just boiled it and I had no issues. So, just be aware that that's something that you need to take care of. Thank you. Next slide. Okay, so additional things that you want to do when you're coming, please bring cash and exchange it at the airport for Samoan taula. I did not do that because I thought I was going to have access to the bank, which I did, but by the time I was done doing the other things I needed to do, they were closed. ATMs are available all over the island and around different stores, and there's banks and things like that. So it is easy you don't have to necessarily get all your money and all your tala at the first day when you're coming in the airport. I know I don't really like to have that much cash on me, but you can easily go to ATMs to get more tala. And I had no issues using my debit cards there. Most stores and restaurants only take tala as a payment unless you're going to a bigger or high-end store, or some of the nicer restaurants. They do take, but sometimes like my card wouldn't work. So it's like, it just depends. I'm pretty sure they mainly only take like Visa or maybe MasterCard. So I didn't even bring my Amex for that reason, my American Express card. Most shops and business open after 9 a.m. or at 9 a.m. So I know. So it's like I'm in Samoa again with that bad Wi-Fi. So I download Google Maps if I was you, and I just did that, and so that way I always had an offline version of Samoa while you're in country. Thank you. Next slide. So these are some of the stores that do accept credit cards. As long as the machines are working, Lucky Food Town, Farmer Joe's Supermarket, and N&L Natzler's Supermarket, and Frankie's. There's a bunch of locations for that. Also Samoa Stationery and Books. So like Frankie's is kind of like equivalent to like a store that has like food and other supplies, and they have a little bit of everything, clothes and electronics and this and that. And then Samoa Stationery and Books has just like, obviously stationery, but like I bought a purse there, and they have refrigerators and they have some clothing and items like that, but they have a lot of different things for that you might need. Like I wanted to buy some things for the place. I needed to buy like a knife and a strainer and things like that. So they can have they'll have things like that there, as well as Frankie's will probably have that too. Thank you. Next slide. So other recommendations or notes that I have, depending on what service you use, you might want to consider downloading your favorite movies or shows prior to your arrival, because for example, I have Amazon Prime and I can't access anything on there unless I bought it. So if you want to download some things or your Netflix movies, things like that, you may not have access to it while you're in country. If you've never traveled out of country, you might, it's just something to be aware of. It if you have, you already probably know that. I'd consider bringing your own gloves, mask, hand sanitizer for your rotation. There may be limited supplies, and based on your comfort level with exposures to certain things, it'd be good just to have extras on hand. I do not expect air conditioning in most buildings. So even in like stores, like I know every store in America has air conditioning, and a lot of stores in other countries like in Australia and things like that, I know they have air. But here, you're going to go to the store, it's not going to be air conditioning. That's typical. Also, most places in the hospital may not have air conditioning. Also, I brought extra medications just in case you get sick. Of course, you can come and they do have pharmacies, they have things that you can get here. But for me, I just brought extra medication just in case I got traveler's diarrhea or I got sick and got upper respiratory infection. I brought all kinds of drugs just in case. So that always is good to have on hand. And also I didn't want to have to bring I had topical steroid cream. They do have that at the pharmacies, but I just didn't want to have to find it or figure it out. So I brought all that with me. I didn't get traveler's diarrhea, so thank God. I think Marissa tried to give it to me by giving me a pork bun from a market, but she said, just let me know if you get sick. So good to think of. Also, I strongly recommend when you first get to the airport, or I got it from one of the other locations, get a Digicel SIM card. That way you have like a local number. That way it's much easier to contact the local people with a local number. That makes sense. And also you can get data. That way you can hotspot and things like that, and communicate that way if you don't have Wi-Fi at your accommodations. Thank you. Next slide. So these are some of the awesome people that you're going to get to meet when you come. I even got Wheeler there. So you see Miss Veronica, she's or Miss Nika, she's there on the left. I'm in the middle, so you can see my face. And then Miss Marita and Ouila's behind us there. Then you have our Professor Bartholomew's is there in that picture, as well as he's awarding the associate professor to Dr. Lemeko. So that we had a nice little meeting and celebration for him. And so that's a picture of him. You'll get to meet him. They're all really wonderful people and so pleasant and nice, like almost every Samoan that I ever met. Next slide. Also, when I was there, thankfully, I got to meet a lot of the students because we had that meeting to celebrate Associate Professor Lemeko. But if you do want to find a way to get connected, I discussed it with Miss Juliana, and she's the president of the OUM Samoan students. And I put her contact information here. So if you want to reach out to her on WhatsApp or on her email, you can do that. If you're wanting to just have a local contact and she said that she put together like a WhatsApp group of other Samoan students that were interested in kind of partnering with the students that were coming here. So that's a contact if you need it. Thank you. So these are some of the sites to see in Samoa. I've tried to scatter some pictures that I've taken along the way, but if you want in town, they have a Siva Afi. So you'll see have local food and dancing, and you'll get a little history lesson on some of the Samoan culture, which is cool. This picture here is the Piula cave pool, which was really cool. You can actually go down in there and swim. Also, just something to note, a lot of the attractions you do have to pay for because they're on someone's property. So you'll need to have tala in hand to pay that. And again, unless the price is marked, you're going to pay whatever they tell you to. There's Falefa Falls. That was a pretty waterfall. If we Sia Falls, I'm not going to tell you all of them because I have such a great accent. That was really pretty. Sorry, that's not the Pula Cape. My bad. That's the Tosua Ocean Trench. My bad. Sorry, guys. We did go to Pula Cape Pool too. So there's lots of really beautiful waterfalls, and a lot of times they're just like right off the road. You can just kind of drive and go right there. There's a lava filled coastal walkway that's really pretty. I just kind of walked. I didn't get to do the whole walkway because I was alone. I didn't feel like I should do that by myself. There's a giant clam sanctuary that I wanted to go to, but I didn't have any snorkeling gear. There's lots of nice resorts and restaurants along the southeast coast that you could visit. They were really, really pretty. And just if you want to kind of get outside of town and have something else to eat in a different view, because Apia is nice, but again, Samoa is beautiful. I mean, you have this amazing opportunity to see like a beautiful country and just experience it. And it's really hard to experience that in a city. So I really recommend it. And then regrettably, I didn't get to go to Savaii, but I heard it's the real Samoa is what I was told. And they have some of the most beautiful untouched beaches, and I'm sure many other things there. But I highly recommended trying to go to Savaii. And you can take your car and go over there. They have it's past the airport, what am I trying to say? I was going to say a shuttle, but a boat that will take you over there. And I heard it's pretty convenient if you do want to use that. Sorry that I had so many issues with internet. I dearly apologize. I'll try to get it fixed before I came, but I'm so glad we got to meet with you. I think you can put my last slide up. So, actually, there's some of the pictures. This is some of the waterfalls at Tosua Trench there. This is going along the coast. I apologize. You can put the next slide. I just want y'all to, again, I've tried to, the pictures don't do justice. This place is absolutely gorgeous. And the people are just as wonderful and just as fabulous. I mean, if you go in with that perspective that you're going to have a fantastic experience, I really, really think that you will. If you're going to go on and like Willa said, if you're going to go and compare everything to your country, then you're probably going to be miserable because you're going to completely miss out on how amazing the island and its people are. And I really feel that way. And again, every different place has its challenges. Everything has its challenges. I'm sure I experienced my challenges, but I really felt really blessed to just be in such a wonderful place and can't wait for, God willing, to go back soon. Next slide. No. So essentially, Fafatai, thank you. I appreciate this opportunity. I hope this helps a lot of people. And again, I apologize for the outing of my Wi-Fi. Thank you.
Bafatagi. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you for, bringing forward this idea to have a session on going to Samoa and providing some information to students who have Samoan rotations upcoming. Thank you also to Wheela and Maretta for taking some time out of busy days to be here and to impart and share with us some information about Samoa as well. If you want any more information, if you have questions for any of our presenters today, feel free to connect with them via email. I didn't see any questions put into the chat box. If anybody has any burning remaining questions, you can go ahead with those now. But I really thank and Fafatai to each of you for joining us here, either in person or if you're joining us via recording, you are most welcome as well. And I really look forward to hearing stories from each of you about your rotation in Samoa. So thanks again so much, everyone. And I look forward to chatting again with all of you soon. Oh, I do want to let you know that we will make the slide deck available if you'd like to use it as a reference when you are planning your trip to Samoa. Thanks again, everyone, and talk to you soon. Bye for now.